and that's I mean, whenever you're still playing Conor Gormley at wing half back, you're just not at the level you're at, and they do persist with a sort of a short passing, solo running game. Meath, on the other hand, will kick the ball. What's going to happen tonight is that Joe McMahon will play as a sweeper in front of his full back line, and I expect young Harnan then, Pádraig Harnan, to drop off and play as a sweeper. So the game will be quite defensive. I mean, look, you never know with Meath, they're a wild card. They don't have Graham Garrity anymore, which is a very essential component of their last 2 victories over Tyrone. Yeah, so, I mean, Tyrone are very professional. Their defence is excellent. The question is whether Meath can unpick the Tyrone defence.
And also, Kevin, whether Meath can revisit that level that they certainly did against Dublin, even though they lost out that day in the Leinster final. But then I suppose they always do pep up a little bit for Dublin. Can they do it again?
Well, about 3/4 of the game, they gave it Holly, really, you'd have to say. But I think it's always important when you go into the qualifiers how you leave the championship, the quality of your performance. And I think Meath had a performance that they could reflect on and say, yeah, there was a lot of good in that. You know, okay, we're up against a top-class team in Dublin. They overpowered us with maybe 10, 15 to go. But we could take a mountain of positives, midfield being one, the full forward line being another. But it's a huge contrast in styles tonight now. Like Dublin just went out the last in Leinster final and matched
they
up.
let you play. Dublin
towards very mobile Brian Menton. Keeping it moving inside to Gillespie. Second possession for him. Down towards Sheridan. Hit that last shot. Under-hit it really. Inside towards Bray. Well won back there by McCarron. Out by Conor Gormley. Here's Matty Donnelly. Ryan McKenna now playing it in, but they're 3 against 1. Not much chance for Darren McCurry to get at the end of that. Instead it's Damien Carroll. Helped out here by Kevin Riley. Nicely fetched by Eamon Wallace. Going to be interesting to see how he does tonight, playing in the half-forward line. Mention of half-forwards. Here's Damien Carroll. Beautiful ball across, angled perfectly for Stephen Bray to take low. In beyond McCarron. Kicking and kicking. Reading the breaks well. Nobody on him. Able to carry it forward. Has options. Mark Donnelly is just to his right. Goes left instead as far as Kieran McGinley. Huge ball in. Stephen O'Neill trying to break it down for McCurry, but again there's anticipation. So far the 2 defences well on top. Lots of ambitious play, however. This is Donald Kyogan, the TCD student, out here as far as Eamon Wallace. A little bit too much pace on that one. In over the head of Mick. Pretty similar by both attacks. Once again, Pascal McConnell. This time towards Matty Donnelly, but he couldn't get onto it. Graham Riley was back helping. Mickey Burke now available. Conor Gillespie through his shoulder left and then went right off past Sean Kavanagh. 1 against 2 here. Newman inviting the book player to come onto it. It's Eamon Wallace who's got pace, precision and finishing power. First ever championship goal. Beautifully constructed. 7 minutes gone. Lovely goal by Eamon Wallace, the 19-year-old. Look at this again, beautifully fed in here, and Mickey Newman's quick thinking saw Wallace approaching at pace. Beautiful finish, devastating into the corner, and Meath take the lead.
Yeah, he is devastating speed.
Kavanagh just holding it 45 metres out, going through 3 players, and the referee at the end blows his whistle, even though there might have been an advantage had the referee just...
Or is it Darren McCurry?
It's going to be Darren McCurry, I think.
Yeah.
Darren McCurry with 19 points so far in the championship, and that is beautifully over. It's exactly the score that he reaches out well, takes it ahead of Damien Carroll. Now Sean Kavanagh, one player who has always given the leadership, and this time his finishing lets him down. Carroll, now Sean Kavanagh, one player who has always given the leadership. Oh, that's a very, very poor kick out. It's straight to Matty Donnelly, and Donnelly puts it over the bar. It's a first point from play for Tyrone, but it came from a shocking kick out. That Newman from just outside the 45-metre line, let's say 47 metres. Light breeze into his face. He set up the first goal, the only goal so far. Now can he put this one over? Connects, follows through and executes a beautiful kick. Mark Donnelly in as far as Peter Hart, kicking it well, in as far as O'Neill. Now he's got a chance, and that's the finishing we've come to expect. Still one of the game's most feared strikers, First opportunity he's got, first point, and it's 1-1 to 3 points. Tyrone within a point.
Yes, that's a lovely score. Great ball, it must be said, from Peter Hart, but Colin Kavanagh was
from the angle there on the right with the right boot, but he's measured it beautifully and got another one. So now 1-2 to 3. Well, McCurry with 1 pointed free already. So far this season he's got 18 points, and including the one tonight, 12 of those have been from free kicks. So another important one coming up here. He's caught it beautifully. Now will it go over? It has. The wind is a factor here tonight, and it was up into the air, really well smacked, but then the breeze seemed to carry it for a moment, and I think he had a fear and a dread that it might drift outside, but it stayed in. So it's 1-2 to 4 points.
well, we had a perfect angle on intercepting the pass out in the first place, but just careless free to give away.
This is what happened here again. Yep. Caught Conor Gormley after he had done some good work before.
Give a yellow card.
This is going to be taken by Sean Kavanagh, big man from Moy, playing in his 11th championship season, kicks over his first pointed free of this game, and so the teams are level at 1-2 to 5 points. He's telling Kieran McGinley, Matty Donnelly out of shot by the way, you move forward. Lots of movement. It's in as far as Stephen O'Neill, trying to steal a march on Kevin Riley before Mickey Burke came in rather clumsily, and the referee spotted it, gave the free kick.
Once again, O'Neill turns. There was a pull in the jersey also.
You're on. 1 pointed free, and the 30-year-old has another go, and it's the usual result. Terrific contribution by Sean Kavanagh. Well, what a servant he has been over the years. One, however, who has to make the decision. Gillespie was after him. That's where he went down. It was rather dramatic.
I think Conor Gillespie's leg actually caught him, I suppose, but in fairness, Porrick Harnan made a point on the board.
And he has availed of that opportunity. 3 from 3 now for Sean Kavanagh from frees. And it's now 7 points to 1-2. All of a sudden, the Meath defence, all of a sudden they've got a backtrack. And it's Conor Gillespie now holding, waiting. Well, that's a terrible ball, down to Seamus Kenny. He gave it away to Joe McMahon, not sure what he was looking at there. Once again, Sean Kavanagh. A lot of mistakes being made by Meath, but their lead has been eaten into, and it's Tyrone now who themselves open up a 3-point lead, and Kavanagh has kicked a 4th point. First to come from open play, and it's Tyrone who lead by 3 points. It's 8 points to 1-2.
Yeah, well, Kavanagh showing great leadership, it must be said, and just that little swivel again.
And 5 minutes, or just a little under, to go to half-time. 2 pointed frees so far. And the 22-year-old playing in his first championship season connects well again, but can he steer it on target? He can. Beautifully done. And he's found his confidence from those. Taken quickly by Penrose. Across here to Mark Donnelly, who's got support right and left of him. Great teamwork. Holding on to it here, Ryan McKenna. Swiftly across as far as Sean Kavanagh. Kavanagh suddenly injects a little bit of pace here, gets it on his right boot, follows through beautifully. Textbook score there from Sean Kavanagh. And he's got the last 2 from play here. 5 points in all for Kavanagh. And that's 5 points in a row.
Just watch that little hop and skip again that he does to the right-hand side. He's been doing for years.
It's Meath who've won it back, and it's Brian Menton. Held on to with difficulty by Stephen Bray, but we challenged by McCarron. Angling this one in. It's an awkward one. It's a difficult one. It strikes the post and goes over the bar. Maybe that will inspire them. Aside from the goal, which of course came from play, that's their only other score from play in the 34 minutes so far, but it's now 9 points to 1-4. It's a 2-point game, and Meath will still believe that they're in with a right good chance.
You won't see many better points than that, Ger. He took on Cathal McCart right out on the sideline, backed himself. Fabulous score from Stephen Bray.
Light breeze in the first half blowing with Tyrone. Talking to Paul Coggins, who's the London manager after their game, and he was telling me the breeze was quite significant, and they played against it in the opening 30. So I'm assuming it's a fairly consistent breeze. Certainly Tyrone have been consistent, and Martin Penrose slipping past Joe Sheridan with degree of ease. In as far as Colm Kavanagh, held onto by Stephen O'Neill, fed across here to Matty Donnelly, and Matty to crack one from 30 metres out. 4 players involved, and Donnelly gets his second point of this first half, and Tyrone have another, and it's 10 points to 1-4, and there'll be 1 added minute played in just a moment.
That's a fabulous team score. Lovely bit of interplay from Stephen O'Neill finally, given the final pass to Matty Donnelly. Great confidence in the strike, but the quality of the counter-attack.
With me here in Croke Park. Joe, bright start by Meath, but since then Tyrone have just sort of ground this out, taken control of the game.
It's very, very hard to like this, Tyrone team, the way they play, but it's their defensive system is very methodical. It's very hard to penetrate, just as we discussed beforehand. They're expert at doing it now. Joe McMahon has picked up Joe Sheridan. I'm not sure what role Joe Sheridan's fulfilling, and Conor Gormley's sweeping in the space. He's very good at that. They've also got 2 or 3 half forwards coming back into that area as well, so it's virtually impenetrable for Meath. Meath are going to have to consider whether or not they ought to push up. I don't think there's a lot to be gained from Meath continuing to play a sweeper against Tyrone, because young Harnan, the first thing is this: Meath aren't used to doing it. Tyrone have been doing this now for 9 years, 7, 8, 9 years.
At least.
Everybody knows it's ingrained through their minors, under 21 seniors, so it's very methodical and it works well. Meath, meanwhile, are yielding up this area in front of the goals to them by continuing to play a sweeper themselves, and I'm not sure what the function of it is now.
I don't know, Kevin. I mean, with a team, all these modern tactics and so forth, I'm sure there's a logic to them all, but still a couple of forwards would help in our time.
Well, it's one of the great debates is, do you push up on the sweeper and immediately negate the extra man in defence? But of course,
it's just a logical question.
It was, but so many different managers and coaches have mixed feelings on it, because once you push up on their sweeper, you now have no sweeper for yourself. And
but sweeper's not needed, Kevin.
Well, if you've
their sweeper's not needed. He's not fulfilling any function.
Well, you're suggesting so that the Meath defence is excellent man-to-man and can cope, no problem.
No.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
I just think that the well has dried up. Tyrone are completely on top defensively now.
Well, one thing about it, Kevin, when Meath
touches it down, but it's Gillespie who picks it up, and now a huge second half required by Meath if they're to really make an impression. In as far as Mickey Newman, look at the 3 players go after him immediately, and he does it. Down made sure anyway that he got the free kick, 20 metres out, centrally enough position. He's got 3 points from the first half, all from place balls. Needs a good start to the second half. He's got one. So now is Conor Gormley in space, 65 metres out. Martin Penrose to carry it on, pushing the back there by Graham Riley, who's not having. When Eugene McKenna was joint manager, Art McRory as well. Sean Kavanagh kicks, and Sean Kavanagh, as usual, gets a white flag.
But 2 minutes gone in the second half, they've got those 12 scores.
Well, Kildare were able to put in a big second half, as Michael Lester was saying last week. Let's see whether or not that can be replicated here by Meath. Seamus Kenny in again to Newman. He's taking some minding. It's a beautiful ball in, that's a penalty. Now, is it inside? It was Seamus Kenny who continued the run, and it is a penalty.
Well, that's a clear penalty, Jar. Wonderfully won once more, it must be said, by Michael Newman. Had the vision and the awareness. It got around Conor Clark very easily that time. Well, I think Conor Gormley trying to get back, tripped Seamus Kenny. Clear penalty.
Well, there was a penalty last Saturday as well. That one was stopped, of course, by the Kildare goalkeeper on that occasion. He scored a goal in the championship. He's got 4 points already here. An important kick, an important moment, well dispatched. 40 minutes in, and a penalty goal by Mickey Newman excites the crowd, young and old, and now it is 12 points for Tyrone, 2-5 for Meath.
Oh my God, that was emphatically dispatched by Newman that time. And you know, he's becoming the dominant personality from the Meath point of view in this match. So effective, you know, in terms of his use of the ball, but that score is a beauty.
Main leader of the full forward line, certainly. That's fisted back once again by Brian Meath. And the referee again penalises Tyrone, and because they protested, the ball has been brought forward 13 metres, so the next free kick is going to be, as you can see, one back again, but the ball was handled on the ground, and it's going to be a free to Meath, taken quickly by Brian Farrell. Meath in a hurry, all the way down towards Mickey Newman, dishes it off quickly here, and once again it's kicked and kicked well and kicked over the bar. and it's that man again, Eamon Wallace. A goal and a point now for him, and the teams are level for the second time. It's Meath 2-6, Tyrone 12 points. Beautiful 1-2. Again, it involves Newman and Wallace, and what a devastating finish. Lovely score.
That's a confident score by young Wallace that time, and the assist from his corner.
Peter Hart, support players right and left of him. 25 metres out from the target. Hart, back again it comes to Clark, surrounded by Meath players, looking to try and get the kick away. Little block on it by Harnan. They did well back there that time. Good defensive play, out by Menton. Fed away out here as far as Gillespie. It's a much better second half. Suddenly peps up into life. On towards Harnan now. Teams level. Eamon Wallace. Sudden injection of pace very near the sideline, gets around two players. The last one, Penrose, kicking it in, but kicking it waywardly, and the goalkeeper made sure. Likely to pop up anywhere. Back in here towards the second half sub, Aidan Cassidy. Cassidy advancing, Cassidy still going all the way in here. Colm Kavanagh, out came the goalkeeper, and then the defender tried to stop it on the line, and it's gone out over the end line. Well, the goalkeeper was very, very close that time as that ball was coming in. Let's look at this attack again here, just to see how close the goalkeeper got to it, because he was right in there with that block. Close enough to being a foot block.
Well, it was a foot block actually, Ger, but just Cassidy got through that.
Steadying influence required now at the back for Tyrone, because Dermot Carlin's gone in place of Ryan McKenna. And Meath coming in, and it's Patter Byrne playing it in there to Newman. What a match he's played back here to Wallace. What a 1-2 combination they've got, and what another super score. Wallace, 1-2 for him. And a real 1-2 between the two of them, Newman and Wallace. They have excelled in this match so far. A telepathic understanding and a clinical finish by the young Raptoes player, only 19 years of age. Meath are edging it by 1.
Yeah, but I love this young Newman lad. He does the simple things to perfection. Handles the ball well, dispatches it when he should, and again he has got the support pass in that in young Wallace.
The battle for midfield supremacy. Once again it is Tyrone who throw the bodies in there. Peter Hart in quickly. Kieran McGinley after it. Back to Hart it comes again. Takes it into contact then, and then dishes it off, and there's nobody supporting him this
the moment.
As it's kicked out by McConnell, and it's won by Tyrone. Sean Kavanagh advancing with great purpose. His support player to his right, he may not need him. Kavanagh well blocked out somehow. That came out there by Keoghan, and it's gone back in again, and that time it's Aidan Cassidy, and it's gone over the bar, and the teams are level.
That's a fabulous block that time by young Keoghan, but just watch Kavanagh, the way he knifes through that defence. Keoghan just throws his body in front of him, but fair play to, I think it was Aidan Cassidy, mopped up the pieces. And
Kavanagh on here as far as Kieran McGinley. Beautifully down here to Darren McCurry. And this time he was being tugged back, and the referee blew the whistle and gave Tyrone the I think 2 cards handed out to Tyrone players, and it's Sean Kavanagh who is standing some 25 to 30 metres out, and he puts it high and over the bar. Another perfect kick by Sean Kavanagh. Player has given such tremendous leadership all through the last decade for. Again it is Sean Kavanagh breaking the press here, coming through. O'Neill out there to join him about 60 metres out. It's Joe Kavanagh who started all of, or Joe McMahon who started all of that. Back in here, McCurry twisting and turning, swinging it around onto the left and putting it over the bar. First goal of the second half for him, and Darren McCurry's now got 4. The other 3 came from free kicks, and now it's suddenly 15 points to 2-7.
Yeah, but the master once again, Sean Kavanagh at midfield, was the creator of that, driving forward, venomous every time he goes into that attack.
I wonder how Meath got second wind as an attacking force. Having drawn level, having got in front, they've now allowed Tyrone to take supremacy again of this match. And now we're into the last 13 minutes or thereabouts. Harnan couldn't get to it, but it was Dermy Carlin who did. Look at the burst of pace. One player here has given great service to Tyrone over the years. Back into Darren McCurry, one of the new lads. Bursts off the chest of Matty Donnelly, ever willing, and the referee says he was.
It's another opportunity.
4 points, his tally. 3 of them in the first half, all from frees. And that one, an easy enough one, over the bar, and another one from the finish.
You know, there's at this stage now, Meath need to get that ball around the middle of the field once more and try and move it forward into Newman in the full forward line, who's been so effective.
Over the head of Gillespie, but it breaks down beautifully here for Padder Byrne. Slips the ball outside to Eamon Wallace, the pacey player, gets on it in one sweeping move, reaches out with his right boot and puts it over to go in 3 points. What a contribution this is in his first championship season. From the kick out, touched on Padder Byrne to the waiting Eamon Wallace, but he wasn't waiting for long. He was on his bike and put it over the bar, and there are 2 between them again.
Well, he's a little will-o'-the-wisp and he's full of energy and he's good at receive, but by God, he's making himself available all evening. Good assist, must be said that time from Padder Byrne, but this guy has lit up the evening also.
Interesting move as well to have played him in the half-forward line this week. After all, up to now we've seen him as a corner forward, but he's got that pace to really trouble opposing half-backs. From the kick-out, great catch that time by Colm Kavanagh, having a good second half. And into the tackle there came Stephen O'Neill, and he ended up on the for Mick O'Dowd and Trevor Giles there. And a push in the back, and it's by Kevin Riley on Kyle Coney, and it's got to be a free in. This has got to be Kavanagh who will take it. Kavanagh out of his hands, straight, direct, accurate, inside the left-hand post and over the bar. That is a brilliant kick from a free by Sean Kavanagh from Moy. Looks like Meath will have to get a goal if they're going to win this one. We're into 3 minutes of added time. It's carried forward by Pádraig Harnan. This is Lenihan, just on as a substitute, fouled, and the referee is taking the name of Stephen O'Neill, who's already been booked, and that's a second yellow, so he's off. Red card, Stephen O'Neill.
High tackle, and once more, if you commit a high tackle, that you're going to actually get a booking.
It's only a goal will stop Tyrone at this stage. We're now inside the last 55 seconds or thereabouts. Newman fouled. Surely there's a free kick there. There is. The last one went astray. Now, no question about this. They've got to try and get a goal out of it somehow. Into Graham Riley. On here as far as Brian Menton. Outside the large square when that foul was committed and the free kick awarded. Newman kicks, stopped by Pocky McConnell, out it comes. Tyrone have it out to Matty Donnelly. They wait for the whistle, and there's no whistle coming yet. Matty Donnelly gets it away, and the referee, has he blown his whistle? I think he has. They're shaking hands. We didn't hear it, but it must be over because Mickey Hart and Tyrone have prevailed here by 2 points. Final score is Tyrone 17 points, Meath 2 goals and 9.
I suppose we put in 2 big performances against Division 1 teams, and particularly today it was a game we could have won. So as I said, we'll just have to build on this now throughout the winter and for next year's championship.
Is that the one thing that's galling? This was a match you could have won.
I think so, yeah.
Would you go along with that, Kieran? Although tight?
Yeah, and Meath made a great job of putting it up to them in the second half, but for me it's a game about frees. I said at half time, you know, the amount of frees Meath were conceding, I have it 6 out of 11 at half time. In the end, 10 of the 17 scores came from frees. Like, that's way too many at this level of the game. Some of them dubious, I repeat. And
also, though, Kevin, you're not giving away frees when you're under pressure.
Well, this is very true.
They weren't under that much pressure.
Well,
especially in the second half.
Some of the fouls didn't need to go near. You know, the push through the player when it was down at his feet. But there was 1 or 2 of them, you'd have to say, they were of the soft variety.
Meath did good work in the dressing room at half-time. You know, they brought the cornerback out to mark Sean Kavanagh. That put him out of business from play. He didn't score again from play. Matty Donnelly was locked down in the second half. Meath played with the right spirit and fervour. They went for it in the second half. I'll still never know why they retained the sweeper. I mean, by this stage, Stephen O'Neill had been moved out to centre half forward. And I mean, we had a shockingly cynical, a typically cynical Tyrone finale in the last 6 or 7 minutes. Whenever they went a few points up, the dragging down was simply shocking. I mean,
the black
Sean Kavanagh, Stephen O'Neill. I mean, it
really
was
good
really shock. But there it is. It's typical, you know.
And
then you'll hear all this. You'll hear all this. But you'll hear all this sanctimonious talk coming out from Tyrone about playing the game the right way and all. I mean, it was really bad in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Really bad. As bad as I've seen it.
They did. I suppose what they felt they had to do, Kevin, the black card.
It just can't. It can't come quick enough. For me, what's so disappointing about this fouling is they're their top players. Stephen O'Neill, Sean Cavan, they're their best players.
And to just explain to people, when the black card is introduced,
they'd be sent off.
You take a little sin bin job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, no, it's not a sin bin. You're sent off.
Sent off.
Well, you can be replaced up,
you can
up
be
to
replaced.
a certain number.
Yeah.
All right, lads, we have a lot more obviously to talk about on this game, and also that quarter-final.
Really enjoyed it. It kind of kicked the championship into life. Meath started well, got a great goal through Eamon Wallace. Then they learned for the first time what it's like to come up against the Tyrone blanket defence. They struggled with it, but they learned from it in the first half. They came out in the second half and played good football, some great passing, some great scores. But you felt Tyrone just had that little bit more experience. You know, just they're more clinical in what they do, retaining possession. Meath's last pass just let them down a fair bit. But I think that the critical quarter of the game for me was the second quarter, where Tyrone outscored Meath by 8 points to 2. Now that channel down the centre channel, I know I've been there myself many times in midfield. That's not where you take Tyrone on. If you carry the ball into the tackle down that, here's Graham Riley, they just eat it up, and it's bread and butter for them. And it was this period of the game that Meath just got sucked in. You know, here's a great tackle, Kieran Clark and Michael Newman, and out they come with the ball. And that's the way Tyrone play. You have to play it down the flanks. Your ball has to be direct inside like it was to the goal. But the other man that stood out, I think, in this period was Sean Kavanagh. They got 8 points for them, frees. He got 2 from play. But, you know, here's this famous jink. We've all been there, fell for it. Brian Menton is waiting for it, you know, and he comes inside, just drops the left shoulder, and from 45 yards over the bar. Kavanagh was immense last night. He was up and down the park. He linked the play. He got forward. Here it is again. Conor Gillespie gets caught with it and over the bar. And he was the key difference. But Tyrone will come out of the game, Des. You know, they weren't hugely impressive, you know, and if you close down Stephen O'Neill, they ended up bringing him out to centre forward to try and get him into the game. If you close down Sean Kavanagh, Matthew Donnelly, Stephen O'Neill, which Monaghan will do, they may be in trouble. So I think Tyrone they're not like the teams of the past. They've still a bit of work to do, but Meath will, great credit, great performance, good year for them, and they can build for the future.
One word answer: have you fallen to the Sean Kavanagh sidestep, Dermot Early?
Too many times.
Have you?
You should just know what side he's going to. Too many times.
That's the problem, you know. But still,
we're watching some fella going like this next week. The Meath fans, some of them are very unhappy with some of the refereeing decisions.
Yeah, I suppose, even watching it myself there live, you actually did question a couple of them. And generally, Morris Deegan had a good game. But we see here, I mean, there was absolutely nothing there on, you know, Kevin Riley and Stephen O'Neill. And, you know, it's quite a soft free. However, he gets this one right. And if we see it here in the replay, you know, watching it at real time, you wouldn't think. But right there, a little tug of the jersey, you know, you can't pull the jersey. Jersey is a foul. This one again, especially, I think a lot of Meath fans just thought that, you know, really that Sean actually dived there was part of his. But if we look at it here now, we settle in that Gillespie did catch him right in the leg there. Now, in fairness to Kavanagh, he tries to stay up, but he loses the advantage. And Morris Deegan then decides here, no, that was a trip and that was a free. And he was right. But looking at this one again, another soft one. McCurry has the ball. In fairness, you know, Keegan there does well, but you know, I couldn't see a free there. It was very soft.
A few soft ones there. I don't think you'd see given in all.
And this one as well. I mean, the ball was gone through there.
Yeah.
You know,
that last free was crucial because it was a kick that gave Tyrone a 2-point platform, and it didn't look to be a whole lot in it.
Now, the other point that people were complaining about, on the one hand, you've given credit to the Tyrone defence, but in the last few minutes, they're just pulling down Meath players running through.
This is a problem, Des. We know that, and it started. You know, they had a 2-point cushion, and the first case here is Sean Kavanagh. You know, that's at 55 minutes, and it's building from there. Now we've highlighted Stephen O'Neill.
That's fair enough to compete like that, wasn't it?
Stephen O'Neill here just takes the man out, pulls him to the ground. Now the problem here is the play rolls on, and Meath win another free. Now, they could have, there's two men inside. They could have given a quick ball inside and they could have been in for goal. Morris Deegan holds up the play. He's obviously going back to address the Stephen O'Neill issue because he saw it. But this is the whole issue, Des. It's slowing down the momentum of the teams. Meath could have benefited from that. Maybe Morris Deegan could have come back when the ball went out of play. He didn't, and it cost Meath. But here's one, you know, Sean Kavanagh, that's a rugby tackle. You know, he's getting very fond of that. It happened against Dublin in the National League final as well. There's one here, Stephen O'Neill, this is his second yellow card. Again, it's a high tackle. It's cynical. It's not in the spirit of the game. It's not what we would expect. But
isn't it what you do to win?
It's what you do to win. Now, here's another one, Sean Kavanagh, right? Now, we have to be honest, Des, with ourselves here because we cannot be hypocritical. Anybody who's a manager of a football team and their team is 2 points up and they want to close out the game, that is what a manager would expect to do. And it happens with a lot of teams. It's happened with Donegal, it happens probably with Monaghan last week. Every team, if you're 2 points up, any manager that's standing on the sideline will expect his team to slow down the game within the rules. So we have to be honest about that. And Tyrone are playing
But is it within
the
rules? It is within the rules.
Well, it is within the rules because it's a yellow card offence and they managed to take
Dermot, if you're the Meath manager and you're trying to play football and championship, you've trained all year.
Yeah, but that's the whole idea. And look, Meath aren't, you know, angels either, and they will do that as well. As Kieran said, you do whatever it takes to win. My problem with those points there is that, you know, Sean Kavanagh made two, no, we're not doubting he had an epic game yesterday, but he made 2 rugby tackles there. One of them, or both of them, I don't think went, you know, he went without any punishment at all.
He got a yellow card for one
of them, but for the second one it was a missed tackle, but it was still, the effort was there. And, you know, if you take him out of the game yesterday,
Henry Shefflin went for a lot less.
Henry Shefflin went for less, a lot less. But okay, we've the black card next year, Des. But you know, we were speaking about it earlier, and you know, if you have 3 black cards, tactically, what is going to the last 3 or 4 minutes of game going to be like if you still have black cards to eat up? Because not only will you get a black card, you know, you're going to have to bring on a replacement. So that's going to take another 30, 40 seconds and slow down the game. So while the black card will probably be very good for the game for 60, 65 minutes, we could still run into problems in the last couple of minutes. You know, my view would always be, you know, a score punishes a cynical foul. So in the last 5, 10 minutes of the game, if there's a cynical foul in your own half, the referee brings the ball to the 21-yard line, gives a free in, point, and it's within 10 seconds the game is back on. You know, but that's that. We're not going down that route. So it's going to be interesting to see, does the black card address all these issues?
Well, we'll chat a bit more about that later on in the programme. By the way,